Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence.
On the fence.
I'm Shane, and this is Michelle. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, bro, I survived.
We survived. We
I
survived
survived.
2020.
Yeah,
I think there's
still
probably
here.
shirts like that, right? I survived the
I
Rona.
survived. At first, I was afraid. I was petrified. I was never afraid, but yeah, it's cool. Been quite a whirlwind, and it's been a whirlwind of energy since we talked last. And really, that's why I missed the show last week. For me, it was just enough to stay in the center of this whirlwind and just experience it. And yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
Lots to share. So I don't know
Yeah,
where
it's
we
been
start.
intense. Oh gosh. I guess we can start with just the general energies because I've heard some people feeling like super happy and mellow and excited and anything from that to really tired and heavy and down and depressed. So there's a whole range of emotions and feelings with these energies coming in right now, and I don't know what are you
Hmm.
hearing? Are you talking to people much these days?
Yeah, well, I mean, I listen. No,
Right.
I haven't been talking to people much. Except you were Travis, really, and Mom. But yeah, I definitely went very, very quiet and just really observant. Just really observant and really focused on staying centered in my observation and um uh my experiences. So really like the first half of it, you know, was really like
Starting around December
leading up from
14th.
around the 14th, and then getting stronger and stronger, going up into the solstice, and through that I really felt like this being in the center of this whirlwind, or like I got a lot of images of the wave, like the surfing the wave, and it being all around you, that tunnel, the barrel, and going through that. And I just really had this sense of the motions of these thick waters, just full of all these different emotions, just swirling all around, just outside me. And sometimes it would, brush and against, and I'd feel those different welling emotions that were just swirling all around. Um, so it was really just staying centered in that. But then there was a drastic switch. So I've really experienced this motion sickness feeling for the last couple of weeks. But the first half being, like I said, this being in the center of this vortex of energy, a lot of water imagery with it. So really a lot of emotion, right? And then it really switched to a feeling like, instead of being dizzy like this, it was like being on a rocking boat like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dizziness kind of went from like that to like, whoa, where I remember at one point walking across the kitchen floor to the fridge and feeling like, okay, looking at the
Wobbly.
floor and it feeling like I was seeing it here, but then somehow all of a sudden in my vision it all of a sudden was like this, like literally like being on the floor of a moving ship.
That's interesting because it
This way.
almost ties into. You remember when Alan and Sandra from the Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio people were talking about people feeling like they shift over a little bit, and they were chiming
Mm-hmm.
in with this whole idea of sort of shifting a little bit upward and over to the right, or people talk about this whole feeling of shifting, and I've gotten sort of the shimmy and back and forth feeling, but yours started with more of a spin and then kind of went to like a rocking, wobbly motion, right? Like throwing your
Yeah, like
equilibrium
being
off.
on the deck of a ship like this,
Right.
right? Where and the perception like shifting suddenly. Literally your view's like this, and all of a sudden your view's like this, and then it writes itself. It goes like, so there was that. And then, with it, really this balloon head feeling, like the sense of weird being heavy, yet also feeling very light at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like my feet weren't quite touching the ground. Like I feel very light like that, but also there is a heaviness, like a heaviness in my limbs, like where there's so much going on in the dreams. They're so active. I feel like I'm doing laps around the earth in activity in my dreams. And I am waking up like physically exhausted, feeling heavy that way.
Right.
But then, to get up and go do something, I almost feel like I'm floating.
Right.
So,
Levitating.
and this spacey, the levitation is being insane. Yeah, absolutely crazy. And it literally feels like that sometimes, like I could just lift off the ground. But there is a heaviness, like I do tire easily. Really keeping it simple in my head. Like, yeah, it's a very kind of nummy feeling at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's been a ton of other symptoms on top of that. And the energy just constantly moving in, coming in, and feeling it. I've had a couple spells where I almost like felt like fainty,
Mm-hmm.
where everything goes like, blurry and tingly and feeling woozy. I've had that several times, and mild nausea that comes and goes, kind of, comes in, often feeling like, almost kind of like that nausea, like if you haven't eaten in ages and you should eat and you're almost sick, but it doesn't make sense because I've eaten like I normally do. And it's not that I feel like I want to eat. Anyways.
Yeah. So I was checking out the chat here, and it's
so
people are chiming in with us
and
agreeing.
Reduction in the appetite.
Sorry,
good,
guys.
Good.
There's
Thanks, guys.
There's a little bit of a delay that keeps coming and going, so it's lined up sometimes and sometimes it's not. But yeah, Feisty Kitty is agreeing with so many of the symptoms, and floaty and anchored. And it kind of gets back to that imagery I got from I got in my BQH session, but it originally started with Everyday Masters YouTube channel. He took that clip from Contact with Jodie Foster, where they had added the chair in the middle of that contraption, and instead of just trusting that they didn't need it, and she ended up having to unbuckle while all of this shaking and chaos was going on around her. She was able to sort of float with all of that, and that got right back into what you were just talking about, like how you felt last week. Like there's all this going around, and it's almost like you need to stay centered in there, because it's easy to sort of get caught in the whirlwind of things moving around you fast. And that kind of gets back to that whole message I got earlier on, when it's like, all of these sources of information you can go out to, and you never get to like a satisfactory conclusion with any of them. So I felt like all of this was just kind of shaking loose all of those external sources so we can go within. I mean, it's good to look at external sources for confirmation, but you remember the imagery I got of being on the, like standing on the ice, and all of these like things were poking up, and they looked like they were like in the ice, and they would help you hold your balance, but they were really just balanced on the end. It was like broomsticks, right? And they looked like, but anytime you tried to use any of them to hold your balance, you'd see they weren't connected in. So it was like this getting centered within yourself, going within, because all the answers are within our heart, Even within Christianity, they say the law is written on the heart or whatever. I mean, this isn't, or even Jesus is in your heart or whatever. You know what I mean? So this isn't like, this really follows so many different belief systems and stuff to go within and anchor within to that divinity within. However you view that, really, you know what I mean? And I think this is an important time for us to do that, where we're getting in touch with that, because that's where the peace resides with all this craziness going on around us. And that's the imagery I got with what you were talking about. And then the contact where, we always say buckle up, but it's really unbuckle from all this chaos. You don't want to be connected to it. Right.
That's right. And so just that, that was the real focus, is just staying in that peaceful energy, making sure that yes, I'm feeling this swirling all around me, but I'm holding my own. I'm holding my own space, not filling it with stories too, really separating from the illusion of stories, and even further creating my own stories, and just holding that zero space of the void before all stories began, and an initial light, an initial sound, or whatever it is. It really is a search for me, a purity of divine truth is really the only energy I want to hold. And um, I just feel like everything in this reality is illusion. It's all just a story, and there is a divine truth behind all that. It's an energy itself, and that really is my goal. So I'm just kind of keeping it really as simple as I possibly can, in the purest form of what is my quest, what is it that I wish to attain and pull into myself from this experience, or what my purpose of this experience may be, and trying to simplify that as much as possible to literally elemental form or archetype, to dispel all the stories and break the illusion, and then therefore break the game. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Right. And that's interesting because I sort of got this picture of a different way of going about it, but to break the game, as you say. And it was like, in this now moment, what if you were, say we went to a 5D Earth and things were completely different. We didn't recognize anything, right? What would you miss about this now moment? What would you miss if the trees and the flowers and stuff were completely different? Would you ever wish say they were all glowing and beautiful, neon looking and 5D looking and just something like beyond your imagination? Would you miss any of what you can experience now? And I think most of us would say, yeah, I would miss looking at an regular old tree like we have right now, and to appreciate those things right now, because there's things that you love about 3D. And to love your way out of the system, because it's designed to make you hate it, right? To feel like a victim and not to express that emotion of love, which is the divine feminine. That's the suppression of feeling all of that. And it's always twisted to make us hate this earth and say, well, we're from some other planet. I just want to go home, and not to love our way. I feel like love is that rope, that tether to pull yourself up out of the play or the illusion. And we were talking about how really all of the beautiful art that we find ourselves appreciating, we know it's illusion, and we set aside our belief for a moment when we look at a canvas and it becomes this 3D environment. We know we're allowing the paint to trick our mind, or we were talking about like when you're like into binge watching a season of something, and then like a new season comes out and you kind of forget what was going on, and then you have to watch the recap video, and then it's like you're back into that world again, that timeline, this whole separate world that's an illusion. All the actors are acting, but we set aside our disbelief, and then we fall in love with the characters, and we cry with them, and we laugh with them, and we've done this since we were little kids, playing cops and robbers, and dying in the game of pretending, and all of this, and we've always done that. And if it is a dance, it is about this now moment. It's not about, getting to that final pose of the dance, or getting to that final chord of the chorus, playing this beautiful piece of music. It's the beautiful piece of music, while you're listening to it, while you're in that environment it creates around you of sound and vibration, and I just think it's all about appreciating this now moment. That's what gets you out of the game, the love.
Yeah. Yeah. They really are, they're really deep questions at the core, in that search for truth, really, of
Right.
why we're here. And it's a very individual thing, I think. And I do believe that we are here to transmute and transform this reality. I mean, they really are two questions. I don't feel the need to escape this reality anymore. That's not it. It's more a question of deciphering the messages and dreams and things of what they've been trying to tell me, to understand what it is I'm supposed to be doing, or how viewing it. So it really is, my own personal interpretation. And I think everybody has their own unique thing on that of whether or what their role is. I think it's all very different. So,
I think that's
I don't
Jamie's.
think it's just to get out of here. I don't believe, the whole philosophy. I do agree that the more you resist being, it creates a resistance, right? It's not helping, feeling sad about being here or resentful about being here. That this serves no purpose at all. So, there really is a harmonizing with your environment. But I think we all have individual questions beyond that. What drives us or motivates us to experience this reality?
Well, some of
And the
the
stories on that could all be very different. Hmm.
some of the simplest tricks of sort of, I guess, some of the things that you could think of as being like a handicap to us, the fact that we can really only focus on one thing at a time. You could think of that as a bad thing, but if once you realize that, then you can realize that, oh my gosh, if I just focus on what I want, the positive things, the happiness, you're completely controlling your reality in that moment, and it gets back to that, are you focusing on the wheat or the tares? Because there's always that. And Jamie's mentioning it's the
Hmm.
start of Aquarius, and I find it interesting because for a while now you've been talking about all this water imagery. Aquarius is of course the water sign, right? And then just
It's an
this
air
last,
sign. It's an air sign, actually, but it's the pouring of the water. It's the water bearer. The Aquarius, he bears the water
mm,
and pours the waters. So, but it is an air sign. Yeah, but it definitely has a strong connection to waters and that imagery for sure, and those healing waters and the power of water. It's very relevant,
hmm
um, to what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
amazing. Let's see. Okay, so tying into that whole illusion thing, let's get into your dreams because we've had some sort of the dreams, the out of body experiences, and things like that. Because
Mm.
from what I hear, this sort of thing has been picking up for a while. So definitely want to cover
Oh
those.
yeah, it's been crazy for me.
Plus,
I,
you
I'm
telling me your story triggered me to remember something I completely forgot about. So.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, since talking about, well, illusion, I'll just start with those where I did have a couple scenarios in dream, which again represented, the illusion, right? And this being like this screen of this reality, like a virtual reality. And so there was many of us gathered. It really did feel like it was a spiritual community, friends being there, you, Travis, and different people, and recognizing them and gathering. And it was outdoors and by the water, and everybody really happy and excited to see each other. And it was like there was like it was kind of like a DJ booth sort of set up on a platform, and a couple guys up there sort of doing their thing, and they had a screen behind them, and it was some kind of light show game. I couldn't really decipher it, but somehow it was a game being played but a show at the same time, and it seemed like a light and music show,
Right.
but I got the gist that it was that they were also playing a game. And then suddenly, the image was transferred across the entire, so from the horizon up, like the whole sky became a screen. I had an awareness, like all of a sudden it changed, the whole picture changed, and I could almost see along the horizon sort of the line of the illusion. And I was really just kind of marveling at it, and there's all this crazy stuff going on with this light show. And I knew I had a sense of, people who weren't in our community would be maybe viewing this and going, oh my gosh, like what's happening? But I was just kind of going like, wow, like that, the kind of technology for them to do like that's really amazing. This is really amazing what they're doing. It's freaky, but it's amazing. And just kind of viewing it like that. And, it was, you did have a sense that people would think it was like UFOs and stuff, but that wasn't really what it was. And so I got a sense of that. Then there was another scenario after that as well, having to do with illusion, where um, I had, like, I was aware that it was like being in a virtual reality or a holodeck. Like I knew the space that was inhabiting was not what I was viewing. I was keenly aware of that. And it was in a room, and there was like a table in the center of the room. There was like just a man and a woman there. And I'm just marveling like at, wow, this is so cool. Just like if you had VR glasses and you're like reaching out, to touch things, but I could touch, like they were real when I touched them. They were solid, but at the same time, I was knowing like it wasn't real. And it didn't matter what you did in this room. It didn't matter if I broke the table or what, because it had no bearing on actual real reality whatsoever. It was just an illusion. So, but it was super, super clear, and just marveling at everything, and like, again, like, wow, this technology is so cool kind of thing. So yeah, another one like that. And then you remembered an experience yourself.
Right, but it kind of dovetailed with your going out of body, right?
Mm-hmm. True.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I just, I don't know, remembered having this dream. She was mentioning going out of body with her dreams, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember actually having this dream that I was out of my body with some friends. I don't know who they were, and I don't have any visuals of it. It's just that we were laughing. Me and my friends were laughing at my sleeping body snoring, and it was kind of making, my nose was making this sort of a laughing sound while I was breathing. And
Yeah.
we were like just laughing. I was laughing at myself. Like I was out of my body and laughing, and that's like all I remember.
Listening to
And it
yourself
was just
sleep.
funny enough
Yeah.
that I remembered it. It was like there was probably so much more that I could have remembered, but that just stuck out because
Yeah.
it was funny to me. And
Yeah. Yeah. So, which again, lots of out of body experiences. So I've heard of several dreams of illusions of reality, or being aware of an illusion of reality, right?
right.
But also, flying dreams and levitation dreams. So I'll start with my flying. It's more flying slash levitation, but I had, it was a repeated cycle. It just kept repeating itself over and over and over again. And again, with these dreams, like I'm actually vibrating, like I can feel it. It's so strong, and that happens, and I know I can, like, I'm gonna blast off. So I know that I was outside, but like not much more than just like the close, like just trees and grass, like, and I just kept repeating the same pattern over and over and over again of lifting off from the ground, like up into the clouds, and then like several times too, it was like a tunnel of clouds, and then they would start to part, and I saw this like a valley of paradise, just like you see in paintings and photographs of like a valley of paradise, with the waterfall and and it would just start to go like that. I just start to get there, and then boom, and it just kept looping, and we just kept doing that, again, like half a dozen times. Sometimes I'd just go up into the clouds, and then just keep doing it, right? And then some of the times was going through, and for like a couple times where I saw this like parting of this valley, but then it would just start over.
You know what that
So that
reminds me of?
happened.
I wanted to say just real quick. That reminds me of a really good song that takes you somewhere. You know what I mean? And then it's over, and you got to start the song over again. That sailing song did that for me. I would sail away in the song for a while, and then come back and start it over again.
Yeah, it's like I never quite get to and then back to the beginning, and then.
But that kind of fits in with
over.
the whole. This is a dance. It's not about the end. It's about that revealing of the paradise. You know what I mean?
Well, after I had that dream, I made the decision again, because as we were briefly talking about there, it's not the compulsion to like get out of this reality, so I was like, okay, stop trying to like take off somewhere, just stay put, right? So I made the decision, and I focused on these things on Sunday before meditation. I focused on some different harmonics, and I made a decision to Metatronic coding, and focused on original foundation source sound and the patterns of vibration. And I had probably the craziest experience yet as far as levitation goes. So it was probably about half a dozen times. And it bled with reality so much. I really have a hard time discerning like awake from dreaming, because I was always in my room. I was dreaming that I was in my bed, but I was also like, I would wake up. I had to wake up to open the window. I get really hot right now. We'll talk about those symptoms, but one of the symptoms is getting really, really hot in sleep and meditation. And so through one of these segments, I opened a window. Another time I took off my blanket. Another time I woke up out of it, and I'm really trying to discern reality. What is dream and what is reality? And I'm having such a difficult time. And I know I was lifting up my arm. I was lying on my side and lifting it up and trying to feel the same sensations. Like, am I awake now? Because I kept going back into dream, and I would be just as I was lying in the bed. I had several sequences. Once I was vibrating so much. Sorry, this is choppy, guys. I was vibrating so much that I thought that I dreamt that, oh, I must have left my massage heating pad under my mattress, because it was so loud and vibrating so much. I'm like, there's got to be something under my mattress. So that was a dream thought. But if I'd been totally conscious, awake, I know I would have realized that, no, it's in the drawer. It's put away. It's not even on. I wasn't even using it. So I kept having this bleed of reality of, yes, I was legitimately waking up a couple times, but then I was also dreaming that I was waking up in my bed, and it was seamless. And I was levitating. I was levitating off my bed, and I did a variety of different ways, again, over and over again, about half a dozen times. So one of the first times it happened, I levitated up off my bed in my room. I'm in my room just like it is now. Mom was lying down having a nap at the same time I was. That was legitimately happening. And I thought this was so real. I was vibrating so much I could hear my teeth chattering. And the sound was so high pitched. Like, when it gets so high, the ringing, everything. And I'm feeling vibration. So I've got to show Mom. So I'm floating in the center of the room. I float over to my door. I'm focused on keeping this vibration. It's like keeping your balance, right? Not getting too distracted by what I'm doing and trying to maintain this. But I open the door. I float out into the hallway. I float to my mom's door. I open her door. I go into her room, and it's all dark, just like it was. It gets dark early. And so her room was dark at that time. And then she's sleeping. She's really hard to wake up. And I can see her huddled form in the bed in the dark room. And I proceeded to keep flying over her. And as I'm passing, I'm like, Mom! Mom! And I fly, and I try to grab the blankets, like try to move her, try to shake her, but not break the hold, like not break my balance, not break my vibration, and hold my, right? And I'm going from one room to the other, sweeping over top of her, like, Mom, like, wake up. And I know it was so dark in the room, but I know I did get her up, because I stopped over by her closet, and she started me. She's like, what? I'm like, look, it's really happening. It's really happening, right? So, but then, boom, I wake up. I'm back. I'm like, how can that not be real? Like, I was so confused, because I'm dreaming my reality, and waking in my reality, and dreaming waking in my reality, and it's seamless. And I can't tell which is which. And I'm waking up legitimately, and I'm vibrating. And patterns that I was seeing. So when this was happening too, I was seeing these patterns. It's like multiple ripples on the water, like merging, just rippling, ripple, all melding together, right? And I would wake up, and I would still see these patterns, and I'm still vibrating, right? The other thing was feeling like when I was in the dream scenario and I kept playing with it was the amount of pressure in my hands. Like when the vibration picked up, it was like having your hand in water and feeling that push of it. And I was just fascinated with this. And I was doing it like in my sleep, and then I was waking up doing it, and I was dreaming I was waking up doing it. And tuning in and picking this up. One time I went and I got must have been dreaming, but that I went and knelt at the end of my bed. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it again, and felt the vibration pick up. And then I just kind of leaned out over the bed and just let it lift me up. Um, there's another time again that I was thinking that I was showing my mom that I was levitating. This was a little different. This is the only one segment where I, I wasn't I wasn't sure where I was necessarily, just that my mom was it was a dark room, but that my mother was going to see me is and I went into sitting in a lotus position. This is the first time. So I wasn't in my bed during this one segment. I went into the lotus position, closed my eyes, so I'm not even looking at anything, and I build up the vibration and then lift myself off the ground seated to show mother, right? And I open my eyes to look because I want to see her like reaction, right? And when I open my eyes and look, it's me. It's not my mother. It's like, I don't know, about 8 feet away, sitting across from me. It's just another version of me. But this one's levitating too. And all around the eyes, all around like this, was like yellowy green light. This was all framed. It was like a ball of light all around the eyes. So like the eyes were glowing, and there was like lots of green and some orange and stuff and shifting. And then I was shocked by the image, and again, all these swirling patterns all around, and with this light coming out. And it shocked me so much that I woke up again in my room, and I look at the ceiling. You know how when you stare at the sun, you continue to see that
Right.
mark. So I continued to see that light. Like I'm looking at the ceiling, I can see it, the yellow and green and the colors, just like a sunspot flash in your vision, like you'd see that, and with the swirling patterns still. So, and then I went back to sleep again. Another time, again, and I'm thinking this is real. I float up off my bed, and I'm like, okay, I've got to prove in waking reality that I'm doing this. I've got to prove it somehow with something I can see when I wake up. Right? This is what I'm thinking. So I floated over to my desk and I grabbed a pencil. I've got right here. It's right here, right? And I grabbed a pencil. I'm like floating over, and I reach down, I carefully grab a pencil, and then my ceilings are arched up to on both sides. I think you guys can see that, right? On the other opposite side. So I'm floating up my ceiling. I decided what I'm going to do is float up to the ceiling and mark the ceiling with the pencil so I can see it afterwards, right? So I'm looking at my wall as I float up and I mark it. And then when I finally came awake, that was one of the last times. And legitimately, and I sit up at the end of my bed and I look at the wall that I had been floating up. I realized that in the dream there was a lot more art on the walls. Like you can kind of see some stuff behind me, but this wall, I've got a couple posters up and a couple smaller things, but in the dream it was like all full, like pictures side by side, like 8x10s and 9x11s, and
Right.
So I was looking for, as I was going up the wall, finding a free space to mark the not on a picture, right? So it was just so striking, like
To look at
to
that
come
wall
awake and then
after
look
you
at the
just
same
looked
wall.
at it and saw those pictures, and now they're gone. Like a moment later, it seems.
That's right.
Right.
That's what I'm like. Okay, no, it wasn't, because
It
there was
wasn't
more
here. It
art.
was another reality.
It was so seamless. It was a crazy, like we've talked about this before. I've had several dreams. Like it's often the theme where I wake up and I'm like vibrating so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, something's happened. Like I had a, telekinesis thing where I had the necklace on and I could feel the vibration so much. And I was just playing with lifting the necklace up and down, just energetically. And I was lying in my bed, just the same thing. But this was crazy how it kept repeating, like, and the fact that I was waking up, but then even dreaming that I was waking up. It's such a blur. And to be doing it so many times, the vibration, I don't know if I mentioned, but it was so much that it was chattering my teeth. I could hear that. It really picked up in pitch, and it was really pushing me at times. It was like sometimes it really provided all the energy I needed and I didn't have to try, but other times I found it was really, I had to build it. Like it was there, I could feel the hum. It was like, okay, now focus on it. It was like really wanting me to work with it, to learn how to build it, what it feels like, what it sounds like, how to bring it in, and to feel the lift, right? And it just felt like practicing. Yeah, that was the craziest one yet for how much and how real it was, and very confusing. Very confused. Tell me what's real anymore. I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, I've gone through.
Really.
It's not probably. I wouldn't say it's as bad now, but probably say 2 or 3 days ago, things were super duper dreamy. And I was like, wow, things are just so dreamy. And then you mentioned chest pressure, and you said it wasn't really painful. I did get, now it could have been indigestion or something, but I got chest pressure, and it kind of made me nervous to take a deep breath because it felt like it might hurt, but I guess it never did. You know what I mean? It was just pressure, and
It actually vibrates. It feels like a balloon's placed in the center right here, and it just gets inflated. But there's the vibration, and that's something that really I've experienced a lot too. I mean, it's always present. Like when waking up, it actually vibrates my vision for a little while. It takes a little while to sort of completely merge with this reality, it feels like. And but there's the pressure in the head's crazy. I can really have the balloony feeling, but it really feels like a very expansive feeling up in the higher heart, and the vibration that goes behind it. It's like I can feel the vibration like with behind my eyes and humming against my sinuses. And it affects everything. Lots of kind of almost like electric charges sometimes through the teeth. Lots of stimulation through the crown in different points, and the pressure on the forehead. Like I was saying before the show, it literally feels like I'm wearing headgear all the time. So it goes around here, and then it's like I'm wearing a band. There's also this circle right here, but a band, and then it goes back through here. So it really is like wearing a headpiece, like around like this, and the energy goes through these two respond and are connected together, and at the center it vibrates. And when it's getting stimulated, I can really feel the energy stimulation coming in. Like we've talked about this one spot, but definitely over the last couple of weeks has been different. Usually it's always at one side, but I'm not sure if we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but I had a really cold one on the right side.
Yeah.
Well, since then it's like different, a lot of different things going on. And
does it feel shocky or painful or
sometimes?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like liquid. Sometimes it feels like a laser. Sometimes it just feels like a beam of pressure. Right? So it's not always painful, but it's like some of these it's pressure points poking around. It feels weird, for sure. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, it can clinch up. I do find the energy's moving through like very quickly now. So it's not getting jammed up or hitched so much. So I'm not getting like locked up or bottlenecked as much per se.
Yeah.
Where it cramps up. So does seem to be flowing through better, but it definitely comes. So it's like all kinds of percolating sensations. The clicking in the ears will go up. Um,
Itchy
just
ears. Have
feeling.
people been getting? I've heard a few people talk about the ear itching
Itchy
really
ears.
bad.
Yeah.
Mine's been doing that, and it's like, oh. And I've heard
Yeah.
other people talk about
Yeah.
clear liquid
Or
running
liquid.
out. Yeah, while
Liquid
they're
in your
sleeping,
ears.
especially. I haven't gotten the liquid yet, or not enough to
Mm-hmm.
notice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I did want to chime in. Kate said maybe nothing is real, and you know, if you believe everything's sort of a dream, then you know, and if we've never experienced, what if there is a reality that something we could call real, but we've never experienced it, and we have nothing to compare it to? This is still going to seem as real as anything, just like Pac-Man's world would seem
Mm-hmm.
so real to him. Jamie had a great idea. He said, have her mother write something on paper that she can only see when projecting. So what if you got like a little post-it and had your mom? You know what? I would try too. I would try a shape or some kind of, you know, a picture of a cherry or something that's a picture of something rather than a word. Because I know sometimes words get confusing in letter or numbers when you're.
You can get,
That's one of the
yeah,
ways you can
inversions
tell.
can,
Yeah, that's the way you can tell you're projecting or going out of body is because times won't line
mirror.
up and stuff like that. You know, the book
Yeah.
pages won't
Yeah.
be sequential and things like that. You can. Those are things
That's
I've heard to
right.
check. So. Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
had like maybe post it and just put it like on the top of her mirror where you have to be up like floating and looking down to even see it, and then see if they're
Yeah.
there when you go look at it. That would be interesting if it was like she put cherries on there, but you saw an apple or something that was like related from a different timeline or something.
Right.
That would be
Right.
interesting to
Yeah.
see the results or
Let
just
me
how
think
you
of how.
interpret it. You know.
Yeah. It's pinning down when this sort of thing happens too. I mean, it's definitely happened more frequently. Um, yeah. It's, I almost, after it happened so much on Sunday, I was like, is this gonna happen every time I sleep now? Like it was so immersive to just every time you go to sleep. So we'll see. But that's an interesting idea. I couldn't see anything in her room. It was dark. That was the only problem. So I could see her like shape huddled on the bed. But if I go in there at nighttime, it's all dark in there. So how would I see? So I'll just have to work around that one.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, the fact that there was like more pictures up on my wall in my room, but everything else like seemed the same.
Did you remember what the pictures
And
were?
but there is small changes. No, no. I just remembered it was kind of like
It just felt like your art.
kind of like in grade school. In grade school when the teacher puts up artwork on the walls, and they'll put like a piece of construction paper behind the page as like a frame. Do you know what I mean,
Yeah,
Shane? Like
yeah.
overlap. It's just a cheap way to create a frame is you put the thing on like it was like a peachy, pinky, light colored sort of construction paper. It was like my illustrations or pieces had just been like placed on these, and they were pinned up all over, like all next to each other, right? Like
Right.
you'd do in grade school.
That you actually reminded me of grade school and like at the end of the school year when we were like helping the teacher clean up the room and you'd pull those down
Yeah,
and then it would be so faded like where the
that's right.
you know and I'd be like man I
Yeah,
didn't
like
even
that.
notice how faded this got you know over time or whatever
Yeah,
but
and
it would be
the
yeah
corners are folded,
yeah
right?
yeah
Like that. Like I was going. It was like that. It was like faded. It was like faded pink paper or something, right?
right
On the
or it was like
background, like
hot pink
that's
underneath the picture probably
yeah, who knows, right? Yeah, but it had exactly that quality, like they,
hmm
like they'd been up for a while.
right
Yeah. So I mean, those kind of details, like I really noticed, but obviously, like in the dream, it took me fully coming awake and then looking at my wall to realize
like wait a minute
that
all that art isn't
where
on
did
there
that I did yeah, but what I didn't connect with that in the dream, right? It's just like weird little things like that. Like just like even though I was dreaming that it was still lying in my bed, somehow I thought that it was my a heating massage pad that was underneath my mattress. Like that
right.
doesn't make sense,
Well, it's
right?
almost like your left
Um
brain sort of bleeds into it and tries to make sense of it or analyze what's happening, and
mhm.
you know, it's just weird stuff happens probably.
Yeah. But that was besides the levitating, the level of vibration is probably one of the strongest I felt um since since near the beginning. Like, because the first blast I got, I was nothing like nothing I've ever experienced. Like, that was beyond shattering, right? It was like every cell just exploding from vibration. So yeah, so this is different, but this is still, it was so the strongest. And the pitch, like it really increased. Like, it was, hum at first, and then it just picked up with such an intensity that it was almost trill. And the chattering of the teeth and everything, like, it was very intense.
Okay, that does sound really like strong, the time that I went out of body, that I had that.
And the sound to go with it and everything.
And it gets
I don't know
intense.
The sound to go with it.
Yeah, it's almost like an extreme buzzing in all of your senses or something. That's why the first time it happened to me, I felt like maybe my heart started beating, because it almost feels like when your arm falls asleep, but all your senses, they all start feeling like vibrating and buzzy, and then it increases and like crescendos. Did yours like crescendo into like really intense?
Yeah.
And then you pop out? Is that how yours was, or?
No, because not quite. No, because it wasn't popping me out. Like, if anything, it was making it more. How do I explain this? Floaty, but not floaty. Like I'm levitating, but more of awareness. It was like having each of your cells shook. Shook, and then faster, like, so you're like your whole body's being shook.
That's exactly what's happening with the cosmic energies and energy flowing in. It's literally at the molecular level increasing the vibration of our cells.
Yeah, it's like a paint. Like, I felt like I was in a paint can mixer. You ever seen one of those?
Oh yeah.
My whole everything was going. Sorry.
But that's for me. It had crescendo to a point where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need to do something about it." And then I rolled over and I rolled out of my body. So that's what happened to me. So I guess
right.
But I didn't realize I rolled out of my body. I thought I just rolled over until I popped back into my body, and I never moved it. And I was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" And I rolled over, and it happened half dozen times, until I finally got up and started exploring my room, thinking I was up, but I popped back in my body again, so I don't really know. I wish I had more of it. That was way different than what I was just explaining about hearing myself and hanging out, and it felt very different than that. It felt like that's what
right,
happens every night.
That floaty.
But the out of body thing was, I was bringing a little bit more of my everydayness with me with that out of body experience, if that makes sense. When I got a little glimpse of being with, I don't know, friendly individuals and laughing at my body in the bed, it almost felt like my higher self. It felt very parental, if you know what I mean. I don't know how to, I almost viewed myself as a child or something in the bed, which is kind of weird. But that's kind of the perspective I had there, where I felt like I was actually myself when the buzzing happened and I was rolling over, and I was thinking very logically and awake time, thinking, wondering if it was a health issue. And then, of course, after analysis, I thought, am I targeted? Or are they beaming me? Or these aliens trying, you know what I mean? I had all sorts of things. But yeah, I think it's just an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, this, because I've had that really, like, the floaty thing. I've had the whoosh and be pulled out of the body. But this felt different because I was so convinced that I was physically present in my body, that this was reality, that I was awake, and my physical body was being shook. So there was a real, like, pulling in or almost tightening of composure of myself, as opposed to just like there was a real focus involved in my physical presence, and sort of this control, like don't know if the control is the right word, because I mean I had to steer it and everything, right? I had to maintain it, I had to hold it. So there's or like a clenching, like I'm holding. I had to work with it. It wasn't just like right. It felt like a very physical thing. It felt like a very physical thing, as opposed to just being this loose, free floaty feeling, which I do like. I've had that and been vibrating, but this felt more physical.
Let me catch up on a little bit of the chat here. Let's see. Feisty Kitty had itchy ears. She popped her eardrum with a Q-tip. That's how her infection starts. So be careful with scratching your ear, because I know it's like, oh, it's so itchy.
I know.
Let's see. Alva gets the liquid feeling in her ears every day. Let's see. Maybe it's like we're taking off a VR set. Yeah, I've thought that too.
That's what.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know that avatar.
It's the theme that keeps coming up.
That avatar idea, you know, when he's like, he gets into that metallic coffin looking thing, and then he wakes up as this avatar, and then, you know, as soon as he goes to sleep as the avatar, then he can get out of this thing and be a human again or whatever, you know. And I don't think it's like that, or it's like we're in this pod of pink jelly or anything like some of the Matrix shows, you know. But
yeah, I've had those dreams though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Damon says
I've had those dreams.
Damon says the falling dreams is an indication you have been out. I think we go out all the time, and like, yeah, maybe that falling back into your body. It's like, oh no, get back in the body, and then you catch that glimpse of falling. You're like, what the heck, you know? But yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, see, that is the difference. Is I have been very aware of how much traveling I've been doing in sleep, like really super active. Like I said, flying all over the place, doing all kinds of stuff. And it's hard to even remember it because it's just so fast and so much. But yeah, this was different. It was thick with reality, thick with physical feeling and reality.
Right. Yeah, totally. That would have been the difference too. Compressing into a heavier density. That's the thing with densities. Are we getting lighter as we move up? Are things getting more dense, or do they appear to be denser because we're lighter?
It's more information. It's more. I see it like it's more dense, is more abundant information. I don't know. You know, I don't know how everybody can see things, but yeah, it's thicker, more information, more possibility.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about symptoms before we go. Anything besides that pressure to the forehead? I wanted to say really fast. I noticed the other day it got so intense, the pressure on the forehead, that magnetic pressure where you said it feels like almost like a magnet's pulling. It got so intense that I started to sort of frown my brow a little bit and started to give myself a headache. And I had to like consciously relax my forehead, because it's almost like my forehead was cramping up. You know how we talked about the muscle cramps? You know, in the stomach where it feels like something's moving around, or even in the heart or the other chakras that you'll get like this compression, or even in the throat, maybe it's feeling tensed up, you know. But I noticed that the forehead, I was like, you know, I needed to consciously relax it. And while the pressure remained in the third eye that I was having, it actually made my head feel much better. So if you are getting a headache, it could be that pressure, and you're like, you know, as soon as you feel it, it's so intense and it pulls so hard, it kind of makes you kind of, you know, do your forehead a little bit. I don't know. Maybe if you have Botox, it's not an issue.
I think it's like we're using a new muscle, you know, I think there's pineal activations, and like that muscle gets tired, right? It just, if you were to be lifting a bunch of weights, and you're like, oh, that's starting to cramp up a bit. It's getting sore. So, I mean, that happens. So you do have to remember to like just try to spend some time relaxing it. But it really is with these activations. It's like, that's what I feel like a lot of these different muscle twitches and things we haven't used, new muscles getting used, new nerves getting used. And so there is some strain there, some tiredness, and muscle fatigue or nerve fatigue, you know, kick in. New patterns and new pathways being new synapses, you know, in our mind, and how we process and how we use literally our brain. And I really think that, you know, I can feel those energies come in and stimulate those synapses. And It can be tiring and it can cause some head strain. So yeah, it is just to kind of really relax, find that peaceful point and just kind of let it go. But when it comes in really intense, it's something. I do feel like I'm constantly wearing a headpiece now. But when that pressure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jessica's
I
talking
have to
about
remind myself to just lighten the load a little bit.
right.
Mhm.
Jessica's mentioning having weird muscle cramps in places that don't have many muscles. Uh,
Yes.
and so, yeah, I want to, and that's another thing to bring up the magnesium, you guys. It's very helpful if when these energies are coming in that I heard that you can have depleted magnesium levels and that a
Right.
supplement can be helpful. That way, especially if you're having the heart palpitations. I'm not a medical doctor or anything. I'm just, saying what helps me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the pressure in the head, the sweaty hands and feet. You guys have any of you
Sweaty
guys?
hands and feet.
Because it's been like
Crazy.
the weather's been cold, but I've been noticing. I'm like, why are
Uh-huh.
my feet sweaty? Why are my hands sweaty? I've noticed while I was playing the guitar, my fingers were. And normally when I would play out live, I'd be like nervous a little bit, so that was not uncommon. The stage lights are hot, things like that. When you're out that. But usually
Mm-hmm.
in my room, it's nice and it's actually cold. I have a space heater on me even to supplement
Yeah.
the coldness, the draftiness, and my fingers were like sweating. And I'm like,
Sweating.
why are my hands and feet sweaty?
Yeah.
But I didn't even realize it until you mentioned it. So I didn't feel like I was getting sick
Well,
or
it's been
anything.
so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's been literally so ridiculous. I don't typically have this problem with hands and feet sweating.
All right. Yeah,
And
me.
usually this time of year, like I'm cold
Yeah.
and I
Summertime,
like
yeah,
the
not
temperature
not this time
difference.
though. Yeah.
No, the temperature difference is quite extraordinary. Like normally this time of year, I got my flannel jammies and 3 blankets and
Right.
right.
And my
I'm
feet or
sleeping in
hands are
summer
usually the
pajamas.
coldest this time of year.
Yeah, and yeah, and I have to have the window open. I've got one blanket on me, and I still wake up boiling. It's like iron hot.
Hmm.
It's not like a fever. Um, and I can feel it kick in as soon as I go into a meditative state. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, my body core temperature just starts to go up.
Hmm.
Or feel like I'm taking my temperature. That's what it feels like. Um,
Random pains. I want to bring that up too. I don't know. I call them like sort of phantom pains or something. It's like where you get a really sharp pain just in a random spot. It might be like the side of your foot or the side of your leg or on your thigh or something, and
mhm.
it doesn't feel real, but it hurts. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's from trauma or any.
Right, right.
It just feels like just this random sharp stabbing pain, like somewhere. Has anybody? Have you been getting any of
Hmm.
those?
No, no pain at all. For
Other than
actually a real
the
absence
headaches
of pain.
that we mentioned
Yeah,
before.
well, and those don't aren't even painful. It's kind of weird actually. Lack of pain. I even burnt doing cooking turkey dinner and taking the tin foil off the turkey. Of course, I always tell myself, watch the steam, be careful of the steam, and and the steam got me. And yeah, it like stung quick at first, but then it was really weird. It actually felt good. It's just, I it actually felt cold, like cold, and it actually felt good. And I looked at it, I'm like, why am I feeling like good? There's nothing. I don't know. It was really weird. It healed up and never hurt, and it was pretty red. Like I burned it really right on the soft part
Right.
of here, and
That's
that was
really
really kind of strange.
that's funny because that's the really sensitive part. You check the baby bottle milk on because you can tell if
That's
it's
right, and that's
yeah,
exactly where I burnt it with steam,
yeah.
and um it was kind of weird, like I finished doing everything, I sat down to eat, and I realized um my arm felt cold. Like it felt cold where it should feel like it was hot. Not cold, like it felt, and I'm like, well, it feels like kind of like it feels good. Shouldn't I be in pain right now?
Right.
Because it's really weird. And it never bothered me at all. And I normally hate getting burns. They sting like a,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah. I
know,
hate burns
and
too.
it was pretty decent size. So, if anything, I mean, I feel the pressure in my head, but and it builds up a lot to the point where it's almost like where I think I could get a headache, but I don't get a headache.
Hmm.
And So it hasn't been too much. It's been woozy, but yeah, no pains. But the muscle twitching, like it really feels like I'll get muscle twitching sensations and that don't make sense. And it really kind of ripples through. Like
Hmm.
sometimes it comes in this way, and I'll feel it go down,
Right.
and other times it comes up the other way. It starts with my feet, and I'll feel like weird twitches, maybe in like small little muscle spots up
Right.
in my legs, and then it come up some perineal twitching that happens quite pretty regularly every day now. It's like a percolating sort of bubbly feeling, and it just goes up and then kind of percolates through here, and I'll get some flutteries and maybe some chest expansion, and it'll come here, and maybe sometimes it'll give me a little bit of tickle in the back of the throat, right? If I clear anything there, um and then I'll feel it hit in here, and
That
it's
sounds like
usually
the Kundalini
expansive.
rising or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I feel it both ways. I feel when it comes in through here, the crown, or here, um, and it does seem more fluid. Like I'm not getting bottlenecked so much.
Hmm.
We had like sort of more space in between these ups and downs, right? So it definitely feels more fluid. I can
Hmm.
feel the coming and the going, and um I mean sometimes it does pick up quite a bit where I just gotta take 20 minutes to, let it pass or whatever. But it's pretty fluid now, I find. It's intense at times, but
Yeah, Jessica's saying she gets random stabbing pains all the time, but have associated it with MS. Now, these aren't, and it's hard to say. They could happen more than I realize because I usually only notice when they're really bad. Bad enough to get your attention. So it's hard for me to put a number
right.
on how often it happens. But if I had to guess, I would say 3 times a week. So it's not very often, but it's just strange because
Mm,
I don't remember having it before. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, maybe I
right.
just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. It's so hard to know because so much stuff we miss because we're not paying attention, but we don't even know what we're missing
Oh
because
yeah.
we're not paying attention.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, just distracted by life, right?
Yeah.
For so long. It takes a while to really slow down and learn how to pay attention,
Yeah.
and yeah, start to really notice these things. But
And it is, I guess, probably
yeah, there.
more with being in the now moment and being aware because if you're really in deep thought about the past or the future or whatever, you might not notice, getting a
No.
mosquito bite or anything.
No, yeah, you're too busy creating your experience of now based on the past or the future. So you're not in your moment of now, right?
Hmm.
It's a tricky balance sometimes. Each of us, I think, in our own way, have to find our kind of middle ground on that, the to do or not do, or create or not create, or
Right. But
think or
trust
not
the
think.
heart.
It's an individual journey, right?
Yeah. I say always trust the
Hmm.
heart and the desire of your heart. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where the discernment really helps if you just are led by love in your heart and desire because we
Hmm.
desire to do what our purpose is. I feel like it's like embedded in our coding or whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The story's going to be told, so the
Right.
truth will out.
So really,
All of
like,
it.
what kind
Your
of star do you
purpose.
want to be in your story? And really, that's really the only control we have is what type of role,
Hmm.
what kind of hero, what kind of character are we going to put, what kind of story are we going to write for ourselves in this now moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Or not write stories at all. I don't know.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, I'm like, okay, what if
Unravel
I'm,
unravel the stories that are already there, I guess, before you can write
yeah.
some new ones.
I mean, it's very individual. I think really we have our own questions to ask,
Yeah, that's true.
and what we think those roles are, and what that means to us.
And that
And
is,
it's
it's
very
like
personal, and it changes all the time. I think it really changes, and you can change your mind on that, and
that's why it's
it's good to be
important to go
fluid.
within because there really isn't a one size fits all for anything.
No.
Everything's tailored to your specific experience and what you're here to do and experience. And so that's why
Yeah.
it's important for everybody to find their own love and desire from within instead of trying to
find their own questions, like really, yeah, and get down to their own nitty gritty of what is it they really want, or what is it that, what are you really asking and why, you know. Yeah, the deeper questions, as opposed to having somebody answer your questions for you, turning around and asking why you're asking the questions in the first place, and why you need to know, and what is it you need to know, like for whatever reasons, you know. Right. The questions behind the questions. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with me every week, Michelle.
Yeah, for today.
Last one of 2020.
You never know. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Still definitely feel like I'll be here for a little while longer, observing, just watching. There's a lot more to watch and a lot more to play out. So.
Well, this is the last one of 2020, though. So this is our celebration. Our Happy New Year to you guys, and we love you and all that.
Happy New Year, guys, and Happy Christmas, and hope you all enjoyed yourselves and spent your time with your family that you wanted to. So I hope so.
And with the new year comes new optimism, new hope, right? The dawn of
always.
The days are getting longer, unless you're down in the southern hemisphere. But the light's getting longer and longer here in the northern hemisphere. Things are shifting.
Yeah, we're back around. Here she is.
There she is. She knows. We're back. She knows it's time.
She knows what time it is. Hazel, you know what time it is? Is it time to say goodbye? So long, farewell. Need to say goodbye.
Awesome. Well, lots of love, light, and unity to each and every one of you guys. Thank you again, Michelle. I love you. Thanks for being here.
I love you. Love you all. Thank you.
We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.